So now we are going to look at Nadam, which looks like a obvious extension that you would do on Adam, right? So Adam already introduced the momentum term, and then we know that nag is better than momentum based gradient descent, right? So Adam, which uses momentum, can we make it better by adding the Nesterov effect to it, which is the look ahead effect that we need to do, right? So that's that is something that we could do, and that's exactly what Nadam is. It is the Nesterov version of Adam. So let's see how that works, right? So this is the update tool for Adam that we had. Now from here, we'll now revisit NAG, the Nesterov accelerated gradient descent, and then see how to modify the update rules for Adam to get in this Nesterov factor here. Okay. So recall the equation. So now one thing which I have done here is that I have so remember that you could have beta ut minus 1 plus 1 minus beta times delta wt, right? So both these forms are popular, right? So where you have beta and 1 minus beta, where of course they sum up to 1, or you could just have beta and then no weight multiplied by the derivative of wt, right? So when we had originally introduced momentum, we had used this equation, but from when you used it in Adam, we were using this equation. So both are popular. So when I start off, I will stick to this, but at some point I will switch to this equation. So just remember that both of these can be used interchangeably, right? So when I start off, I'll just use this because it's easier to convey what I want to convey, but at a later point, I'll switch back to this version of momentum, okay? Um, Now you recall the equation for nag. The main idea in nag was that instead of looking at the gradient at time step t, you first did the look ahead and then computed the gradient, right? That was the main idea in nag. And then the rest of it of course remains the same, right? Now what we are going to do is we are going to rewrite nag in a more convenient way and then import it into Adam, right? Or rather than port it to Adam, right? So this is what we were doing in nag. We were computing a quantity called gt, which was the gradient. Okay, let me just write down the equations, all of it first, and then that becomes easier for me to explain. Okay. So I'll just now walk you through the slide. So we were computing the gradient at the look ahead value, right? And once you compute the gradient at the look ahead value, then you were computing mt as the history plus the gradient at the look ahead value, and then you were updating the new value as this updated history, right? That's what you were doing. Now one thing I want you to notice here is the time steps that you have. You have t, you have t minus 1, and you have t plus 1 also, right? And it looks a bit cumbersome, and we're going to try to rewrite that a bit more compactly, right? That's one challenge. The other challenge is what is written here, but I'll come to that, right? So let's now see what happens. Maybe I'll just go back a bit. Yeah, so let's say you started at W0, okay, and you computed the derivative at this point, so which would be somewhere here, right? I'll just show it on the plot. So that's where you have computed the derivative. Then at M0, since you have, remember that we have kept the learning rate as 1, I have initialized it here in the top right corner here, right? So n eta is equal to 1, and of course m minus 1 is 0. At time step minus 1, you don't have any history. So here m0 is going to be beta times 0 plus g0. So it's just going to be g0. So far so good. And then w1 is going to be w0 minus, let me just use the pen. So I'll just do this once. So there should have been an eta here, but eta is set to 1. That's why I'm not using eta, right? So remember that eta is always there in all the stuff that I'll do in the next 2 slides. It's just that the value of eta is equal to 1, right? And then you are w0 minus the derivative computed at so instead of calling it gt in this case of course turns out to be delta w0 itself, but actually it would have been, as if I follow this equation, it would have been delta w0 minus eta into beta into m minus 1, and this quantity just turned out to be 0. So that's how I'm writing it here. Okay, so that's what your W1 is. Now let's go ahead. So this is where I have reached now. Now at G1 I am doing this look ahead, right? So when I'm computing G1, I am actually looking at the derivative at a slightly further point. I've already moved by the history and then computed the derivative. So that's where the lookup is happening, right? So that this is the point. So now I'm looking ahead and computing the derivative, and now that is where look ahead happens in the original NAG equation, right? And we are going to slightly modify that. So now what is happening is that this, yeah, so now I have, after doing the look ahead, I have reached somewhere, I have made that updates and then I've reached somewhere, and then I have computed my history vector again. This is my history vector that I have computed again, and then I've used that to make my final update, right? And this is what my final update looks like. It's W1 minus M1, right? Because I'm just substituting values in this equation. Now let me just use the pen. So I'm just substituting values in this equation. My eta is equal to 1 and time step is 1. So W1 minus M1 is what I get. And now if I substitute the value of M1, it turns out to be this quantity, right? It's beta M0 plus delta W1 minus beta M0. Okay. So now what is happening here is that if you look at this M0, right, which is M of t minus 1, it is used twice, right? First, it is being used to make this temporary update to the value. Okay. You make that temporary update and then switch back to the original value again, right? Because you're not using that temporary value again, right? So you're switching back to the original value. So using the beta M0 here, and then again you are using beta M0 here, and then again you are switching back from this temporary computed value that you had to the original value that you have, right? So you're making some extra computations here, which could be kind of done away with. That's the goal that we want to achieve while giving you the same effect, right? So now what is happening here is that you look at G1 and it's getting some input, which was W1, and then it is subtracting some quantity from it. Instead, if I already had passed it a value which was already equal to this, right? Because this I already had the previous time step. At the previous time step, I already had M0. So if at the previous time step itself, I could have computed an updated value and send it here, then I wouldn't have had to do this here, right? So that's the idea, and you can see that what is happening here is that you have t, t minus 1 and t plus 1. These are the three time steps that you see here, right? And instead, can we write everything in terms of t and t plus 1 and push the look ahead such that I don't have to do these computations again, right? So that's what we want to do. So let's see what we are going to do about it. So the key thing here is that the vector M0 or M minus 1 or M of t minus 1 is being used twice. Then you're doing this temporary computation, which is W1 minus beta M0, and you compute the gradient there, and then you forget about this temporary computation. You never use that again. And then again, in the last equation, you resort back to the value of W1 and then make an update from there, right? So that's something which is we want to get rid of and simplify this, right? So let's see if we can rewrite the equations. So this is what W1 was, right? So W1 was W0. Okay. So W1 was W0 minus this, and this is the calculation that I don't like, right? Because I could have done this earlier and sent it a value which would have already taken care of this look ahead, right? And then I don't need to do one more look ahead here. So that's the thing, because we already had beta M0. So this quantity that you have here is beta M0. And I already had this at the previous iteration, right? So why am I doing this in the next iteration? Why am I coming up and computing this in the next iteration? Here, why am I doing it? That's the question that we are trying to answer, right? So can we, sorry, I should have, let me just go back. Sorry, I circled at the wrong point. So I'll start my explanation again. So when I'm computing G1, I'm doing this temporary computation, which I don't want to do, right? And what my argument is that at the previous time step, I already had this beta M0, right? Because that was already computed at the previous time step. Could I have done something at the previous time step and got an effective value of W which had already encompassed this beta m naught movement, and then whatever w I get here, I just compute the gradient of that, right? So I'm doing the look ahead in advance and then sending it to the next time step. That's the idea that we want to get to. Is it making sense? So this is what we will do, right? So now we had W1, if you look at W1 minus beta m naught, right? So this is W1 minus beta m naught, which is effectively this. So you have, what was W1? The way you computed W1 was you had started with W naught minus eta times this look ahead gradient that you had computed, and then you did this minus beta m naught, right? This is what you had done to get the value of so this is what was happening, right? So if I do W1 minus beta m naught, this is what you will get, and this already has this look ahead incorporated into this, right? Which look ahead I was doing here. What if I just do the look ahead in the previous iteration itself, and when I'm computing W1, what if I just put in this quantity also over there? So now I'm rewriting the equations, and this is how I'm going to do. When I compute gt plus 1, I'm just going to compute the derivative at the current value of w. There is no look ahead happening here. Then I'm going to just compute the mt plus 1 using the equations that I have, okay? And then I'm going to compute wt plus 1 as wt minus eta. So I have taken the look ahead value here and then the gt plus 1, right? So now effectively what I'm doing is the following. I had W1, I computed the look ahead. Now look ahead is computed only at the momentum step, which is mt plus 1, and then I look at W1, and I'm going to compute the look ahead of the gradient in the next time step, right? So I've just changed the time steps a bit. Now notice in my new equations, there is no wt minus 1, right? Everything in terms of t and t plus 1. So an easier way to look at this is that if you have a while loop, if you put one step outside the while loop, right, then all your computations go like one step behind that, right? So that's what you're doing here. You're just doing the look ahead before and then coming into the while loop. So then you don't have to do the look ahead here, and that is simplifying all your computations, because now t minus 1 is nowhere here. At this point, you are not computing a temporary value of w. You're just computing a new value of w at one go. In the previous case, you had to compute a new value of w twice, once for the temporary look ahead and then one more time when you are updating, right, in this equation. Now all this you have encompassed into one single equation, right? So that's why you have rewritten nag. And the reason we are doing this is now based on this set of equations. Now these are the set of equations that we want to bring to Adam, right? And that then the update rule for Adam will look quite simpler. So this is what the update rule for Nadam is. So you have the same thing as Adam. This is also same as Adam. This is also same as Adam. This is also same as Adam. So nothing has changed so far. The only thing now you have done is at this step, you're doing the look ahead, we are updating based on the history as well as the current gradient. So for a minute, let's just ignore these quantities, right? So if you ignore these quantities, your update rule is simply wt minus eta square root of Vt plus 1, the bias corrected value, plus epsilon, right, into m hat t plus 1 plus delta Wt. So here you're just taking the gradient at the current time step and the history. Now all the other multiplying factors that you see here, those are coming. So this is actually let me just make it mt plus 1. Now if I were to bias correct it, then I would divide it by 1 minus beta raised to t plus 1, and I'll have to do a similar bias correction here also. So I'll again divide it by 1 minus beta raised to t plus 1, and then this beta and 1 minus beta are simply the contributions that I have for the history and the current gradient, right? So that's how I get it. So it's a bit messy. I couldn't find a better way of explaining this. If you have suggestions, I'm open to using them. But the main idea here is this, right? The takeaway is this, that you add the Nesterov factor into the Adam equations, which means you do a look ahead, And to make this look ahead a bit less messier in terms of writing and making sure that most of your equations are same as Adam, and you just push ahead into the last, look ahead into the last equation, we did that rewriting of nag, and we just explained that instead of doing something at t minus 1, then t and t plus 1, we had everything in terms of t and t plus 1. So the look ahead was already done before I went to the next iteration. Hence, I did not need to do a look ahead again in the next iteration, right? And once you understand that, then this equation is just just a manifestation of that, and all the 1 minus beta terms that you see here. Now let me just clear all the annotations. These are simply because when we are doing nag, or when we are discussing whatever we discussed before coming to this slide, we did not have this 1 minus beta terms. Hence this 1 minus beta term shows up here and the beta term shows up here, and the denominator is simply corresponding to the bias correction that we do, right? So that's all about Nadam. And now let's see how it works in practice. So look at an example. Uh, yeah, so I'll just run it, and you can see the same Nesterov effect here, right? So the blue curve corresponds to Nadam, and I'll just run it again for your benefit. You can see that the blue curve has smaller oscillations as compared to the black curve, and that's the Nesterov effect that you were hoping for, right? So that's all about Nadam. So now, which optimizer to use? I think the most common, I guess, the default one that I have seen in most papers is Adam. If you don't know anything, maybe just go with Adam. However, there are recent works which are not so recent also, they are also 3 to 4 years old now, which do point out some issues with Adam. Still, by far, at least for all the practical work that I have seen, Adam seems to be a very common choice. And if not Adam, one of the variants of Adam, right? Maybe Nadam, or yeah, I think Nadam is another good choice, right? So if you're a new learner, just use off-the-shelf optimizers, and or Adam is as good a choice as any. And some of them you could then practice a bit more. So people have reported that just using gradient descent, and then using, or maybe momentum based gradient descent, and then really knowing how to set the learning rate, initial learning rate, how to set the momentum value, how to set the learning rate schedule. If they know all of these well, then they're able to get as good results as Adam, right? But it takes a while to get that kind of an expertise. In the absence of that, just using Adam simply off the shelf might be a good choice to use. Okay, so that's all we had on the different optimizers to use. Now I'll just spend some more time on talking about learning rate schedules.